Hey everybody, it's Eric here from Action Yu-Gi-Oh! And today I have a very special deck profile because today I managed to get third place at my locals with 60 card Naturia. I know it kind of sounds like a joke. It's a really obscure deck, super fun. It's very much an anti-meta deck, but I promise it's not as bad as it sounds. This deck's actually kind of nuts. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into it. So the first card that we played, and the only Naturia monster we played 3 of, is Naturia Antjaw. So this card is the heart and soul of this deck. What this card does is when your opponent special summons a monster, you can special summon a Naturia monster that's level 3 or below from your deck. This is not once per turn. In any way. So like, if your opponent special summons a monster, you can special summon another Antjaw from deck, and if they special summon another monster, you can trigger both Antjaws and just have 4 monsters out because your opponent special summoned twice. This card is absolutely insane. It gives you more advantage than your opponent just for your opponent giving you advantage. The next monster that we played is 2 Naturia Maron. I sided out one of these most of the time, but the thought with 2 of this is you can send one off of its effect on summon it's an Armageddon Knight for Naturia monsters. And then you can target 2 Naturia monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them back into the deck, and then draw 1 card. So you can loop these just by returning a Maron off of a Maron, which can come up in grind games, especially in this deck because there are ways to lock your opponent out of the game. And by doing those 2, you can be sure that your opponent is always the one who decks out, hilariously, because you're playing a 60-card deck. The best Naturia monster ever printed is Bamboo Shoot. No one can change my mind on that. This card's absolutely insane. It's only a 1 of in here, though. You contribute a Naturia monster to summon this. It's like a hard tribute summon. And then your opponent can't activate spells or traps. This card is nuts. It's absolutely crazy. And you're playing so many traps in this deck that if you get this off on the board, your opponent should never realistically be able to get rid of this. The rest of the Naturia monsters we played 5 one-ofs. We played Naturia Rock, Butterfly, Sunflower, and Beans. So Beans is hilariously kind of your boss monster. It can't be destroyed by battle once per turn. But Mosquito makes it to where any damage that you would take from Naturia monsters is dealt to your opponent instead, and your opponent cannot target Mosquito for attacks. So if your opponent brings out a really big monster, you get these both off of your Antjaw, and then you can just crash your Naturia Beans into their monster and deal them like 3,000 damage, and be like, yo, go ahead and attack me again, see what happens. This also burns your opponent for 500 if they target it for an attack. Sunflower lets you tribute it and another Naturia monster to negate a monster effect and destroy it, so obviously good with Antjaw. Butterfly negates an attack once by sending the top card of your deck to the graveyard, and Rock is kind of the worst Naturia monster that we play, but we have to play it because of some combos with it. You can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard whenever you activate, or whenever a trap card is activated, and then you can special summon it. The last real monster we played was Triple Myromelia. On normal summon, this searches a whole trap card, so like trap holes, and then special summon, it pops a spell or trap. Super good in this deck. Second best normal summon, only behind Antjaw. The last monsters that we played were Triple Volcanic Scattershot. This will become apparent when I get further into like the spells and traps in the deck. But when this card is sent by a Blaze Accelerator card, you can send 2 more copies of Scattershot and destroy all monsters your opponent controls, and each of these deal 500 when they're sent. So 1,500 damage, and it pops the opponent's board, and this comes up almost every single game. We are maxing out on Foolish Burial of Goods. So this card is either Rhoda, Raigeki, or Torrential Tribute. Thanks to Blaze Accelerator reload. I'll get to that whenever I get to the traps, but you can also send Naturia Sacred Tree in order to search for Antjaw. Antjaw is the heart and soul of this deck, so we want to get to it as quick as possible. We're also playing Duality. The only time we're going to be special summoning on our first turn is if we have our Myramelia. Otherwise, this card is 100% good. And you don't have to link off Myramelia, but sometimes you do. 99% of the time, this card's going to be completely live and won't hinder you in any way, shape, or form. We're also playing Triple Prosperity and Triple Extravagance. Or sorry, 2 Extravagance. So, I tried 3-3. It didn't really work out. But I liked this ratio. I think this one's a bit better than this. Obviously, being able to pick the cards that you banish is helpful. You don't care about the battle damage until you go in for game. And then, yeah, you just want to dig and get to your Antjaw. So the whole theme with these spells is just get to your Antjaw as quick as possible. That's kind of your win con. Then we are maxing out on Naturia Sacred Tree. If this card's sent to the graveyard, it searches Naturia. So, gets to your Antjaw too. Its on-field effect is also super, super useful. So you contribute a Earth Plant monster in order to summon an Insect Plant monster, or you contribute an Insect Plant monster to summon a... an Insect Plant. You tribute an Insect Earth to summon a Plant Earth, or a Plant Earth to summon an Insect Earth. So, for example, if you kind of brick and you open, like, Maron on your opening turn, you can normal summon the Maron, set this, and as soon as your opponent tries to go into play, you just tribute this off and summon the Antjaw. And then you start plussing for, like, no reason. So this card's really good. It also works really well with the Trap Tricks engine, as small as that engine may be. We're also running triple of the Trap Sending Paleo. So this card is functionally Foolish Burial of Goods during either player's turn if you just wait after you set it. So this is everything that Foolish Burial of Goods is. This is Torrential Tribute, this is Raigeki, and this is Rhoda. This also special summons itself, which is relevant. We are also playing 2 of the Spell and Trap Destroyer. Usually we're actually going to be popping our own Naturia Sacred Tree, or we are going to be popping our own Blaze Accelerator Reload. It's also good to out Mystic Mine. Reload is the card that sends your Volcanic Scatter Shots. You banish this from your graveyard during either player's turn during the main phase, and yeah, dude, it sends your Scatter Shots. It's Raigeki. This card is super, super good, and if you happen to open a Volcanic Scatter Shot, and this, you just set it, activate it in the opponent's turn, discard the Scatter Shot, draw a card, and it still triggers the Scatter Shot. So this card is bonkers. I think I resolved it almost every single game that I didn't just like auto lose from going second and not opening any other traps. So triple Quaking and triple Floodgate Trap Hole. So these cards kind of go in tandem. We don't care about attacking over our opponent's monsters. So these 2 cards are kind of insane, because we can set our opponent's monsters, and in some situations we can even set their entire board. And then we just sit there and we poke them with Beans and Mosquito, or whatever other Naturia monster you have. You can literally just set your opponent's entire board when they try and attack over you with Quaking Mirror Force, get a Mosquito out, and then just crash into a high defense monster and just win. That actually came up quite a bit today. These cards are nuts. Then we are also playing 2 Storming. You can't set Link monsters, so this is actually pretty relevant to be able to summon this off a Trap Trick. And also it helps protect Antjaw. The biggest weakness of this deck is just your opponent being able to normal summon a monster and then attack over Antjaw, but you have enough traps that are interactive that it just keeps the opponent from doing that. We are also playing triple Trap Trick, since this gets us to any of our normal traps. So this is also the Paleo. So this is also Rhoda. This is also Raigeki. This card's nuts. This card's absolutely nuts for trap decks. Triple Crackdown, take an opponent's monster, link it off. Did that today. This card's really good. Once again, it also just prevents your opponent from normal summoning and attacking over Antjaw. 2 punishment, pretty self-explanatory. This card actually was pretty terrible. The reason I really run 2 of it is because you can summon it off, or you can get it off of your trap trick in situations where you just need to be able to pop something like then and there. And I think this is a little bit better than Compulse because it's kind of a 2-for-1. Or a 1-for-2. You get to pop 2 cards if you send your inst. So I ran 2 of it. It was pretty meh. The last cards I ran were Triple Strike, Triple Judgment, and 1 Imperial Order. Yeah, so Judgment is obviously great. I just get this to solidify my boards, and Strike is insane. The cool thing with Strike is if you get on a board with like a Dragoons or something, your opponent can try and attack into you. You activate a Mirror Force, they go to negate it, you strike the Dragoons, and then you've just outed the Dragoons. That also kind of goes for why I play multiple Mirror Forces, since those are also kind of an out to Dragoons if you get multiple. On to the extra deck. I ran Triple Sarah. This is the only monster in the extra deck that I ran 3 of. This is probably your most important link monster. The reason this is important is because you normal summon Myramelio, and then link into this. And because this just became a plant, you got to search a Floodgate Trap Hole. You can kind of bait your opponent with this, and then as soon as they go into special summoning a monster, you can tribute this off with Sacred Tree, and then get into your Ant Jaw. There was also a situation today where I got into this, and an opponent Dark Ruler no more'd me, and then went to special summon. I just tributed off a Sacred Tree. I didn't care. But even, like, if he didn't, I was going to get a huge amount of advantage off of this card too. Sarah's crazy. I was playing 1 of this card. The theory behind this was you can send this off of the trap card Dogmatic of Punishment, and then you can mulligan a card in your hand, which is kind of cool because you play the volcanic monsters. Never came up today, just because I was more wanting to just Raigeki the board or do other things. I just didn't run into the situation. But yeah, being able to put the volcanic scatter shots back is pretty good. Other Link 2s that we ran was Phoenix and Asa. Pretty self-explanatory. I stole someone's Power Tool Dragon and beat them to death with this today, so that was cool. Link 3s, we are running these 3. I took an opponent's monster with Crackdown and then linked off into this, and that just won me the game because I took a level 7, so I got this effect. The theory with these is they're all different names. So you do play the Paleo cards, so being able to go into these with the Paleos is really good. This card in particular is kind of nuts. When you link into it, it gains a counter for each insect monster used for the summon. And then, aside from the turn that it's summoned, you can remove the counters in order to bring back insect monsters from the graveyard. So you can kind of clear up your board, get into a big attacker. And then, as soon as your opponent starts special summoning again, or they summon out or they put out a spell and trap card that you're afraid of, you can bring back Myramelio or Antjaw and just keep getting pluses. Access Code Talker, self-explanatory. Pretty busted card. 2 inst for the Dogmatic of Punishment. And then we ran 1 of the Last Warrior from Another Planet. We are running Waking the Dragons in the side. So, easy thing to summon off of this. Your opponent tries to Harpy's Feather Duster you. You set Waking the Dragons off of Trap Tricks, and then you just kind of win. You still have all your trap cards to protect you. And then I was running 1 Totally Awesome and 1 of the Paleo Xyz. The thought with the Paleo Xyz was that you run the Paleo Trap that sends a trap card from your deck to the graveyard. So if you run into a situation where you have this and a level 2, like let's just say you have Beans and this, and then another trap card. So you use this, you send the Paleo, or you send the Naturia Sacred Tree, you search Rock, you activate your other trap card, you bring this back. Then you overlay these 2 into this, and then this card will let you detach a unit to grab another copy of one of these, activate it, and then you reveal the Rock. And when you reveal the Rock, you get to special summon it. you'll send another Sacred Tree, grab a Bamboo Shoot, and then you just get to summon a Bamboo Shoot. So this card is pretty crazy. It never came up today, but it came up a lot in testing, and I've played this deck at other tournaments before, and it did come up there. Totally awesome. Pretty self-explanatory. You're playing the Paleo, so it's just something to go into. You can also summon off Awakened Dragon. Side deck, I ran to Waking the Dragon. Yeah, really good card. You can also summon from deck, so there are situations where your opponent pops this and you just summon an hand draw. Really funny. 2 heavy Storm Duster just for back row heavy decks. 2 Wiretap. This lets you out the Eldritch stuff, and it also lets you out Evenly Matched. Pretty good. Extra Storming, or a copy of Gravedigger's Trap Hole. So this is kind of for the Eldritch matchup. When you lock your opponent out of spells and traps, you can use this to stop your opponent from being able to get rid of your Bamboo Shoot super easily with the Eldritch monster. And this is just for like decks that don't lose to Quaking, like Link heavy decks. You can also just put this in if you're going second and you think your opponent's going to summon a Dragoons, because you open 2 of these or this in a Quaking, you've outed their board. We are also running 2 triple Fossil Dyna and triple Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere mode. This won me the finals. I went into game 2. My opponent made like a super strong board. I didn't open like anything but trap cards, and then I duality'd into this. This is a normal summon too, so I just normal summoned over their board and set 4 back row, and then I just grinded into the win. I never actually saw this today, but I cited this in a lot. And then the last side deck card was 1 Naturia Rose Whip. Against certain matchups, this card's insane, which is why I kind of keep it in the side. I don't think it's main deck worthy, but up against like Pendulums, for example, they can't activate both their scales in the same turn. This stops your opponent from using more than 1 spell and trap card a turn. It's functionally El Shaddoll Winda, but for spells and traps. So it's really good against like Pendulum decks. It's really good against super heavy trap row or back row decks. And then it's also pretty good against just like Eldritch, because you can stop your opponent from using both of their Eldritch cards in the same turn. It's also really good for just like stopping chain blocking, to be sure that you can interact with like your Floodgate trap holes and stuff like that. So you can like Floodgate an opponent's Eldritch, the Golden Lord, just by forcing your opponent to summon it first, and then want to use one of their trap cards like next turn. So this card's insane. But yeah, that was my deck profile for Naturia monsters, or for my Naturia deck. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching the video. Tell me in the comments section down below what you'd like to see next, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.